Shalom Israel, this is your brother Shamwala Kassad, back again, giving all thanks to the Most High Yahweh and his beloved son Yahweh Shai. Today is Wednesday, July 29th, 2020, and right now I'm about to go over this article from BBC News about the low fertility rate around the world. A lot of these Gentile nations, their birth rates are dropping. And it's getting to the point where for some countries, for some nations, it's pretty much, irreparable, you know what I'm saying, or unrepairable, you know. So it says fertility rate, jaw dropping global crash in children being born. And the article's from the 15th of this month. The world is ill prepared for the global crash in children being born, which is set to have a jaw-dropping impact on societies, says researchers. Falling fertility rates means nearly every country will have shrinking populations by the end of the century, and 23 nations, including Spain and Japan, are expected to see their populations halved by 2100. Countries will also age dramatically, as with many people turning 80 as they are being born. What's going on? The fertility rate, the average number of children a woman gives birth to, is falling. If the number falls below approximately 2.1, then the size of the population starts to fall. So, yeah, every population on the planet, they need to maintain, every nation upon the planet, they need to maintain a fertility rate of at least 2.1, meaning have at least two children or more to keep their society and keep their nation flourishing. Once it falls before that 2.1, it's a wrap. You know what I'm saying? And they've been saying this for the longest time. If the number falls below 2.1, falls below approximately 2.1, then the size of the population starts to fall. In 1950, women were having an average of 4.7 children in their lifetime. You want to know why? Because that was before all that women's suffrage and all that other nonsense. You know what I'm saying? The whole women giving women, uh, the right to vote, the feminist agenda, the women, allowing women to work and stuff like that. Back then during the 50s, and so many families, black or white, was able to survive off one salary. You know what I'm saying? Or if it's a case where if the wife had to work too, she wouldn't have to, really put in 50, 60 hours and all that, like women do today. And plus, back then, a lot of women weren't going to college like that. You know what I'm saying? So back then, the main priorities was having families as compared to now. Let's read on. Researchers at the University of Washington Institute for Health Metrics and Evaluations showed the global fertility rate nearly halved by 2.4 in 2017. And their studies published in the Lancet projects, it will fall below 1.7 by 2100. Fewer women, no, women are having fewer children. Global fertility rate, live births per woman. And as you see, this is the chart right here from the 1950s. Women having at least 4.5. And when it gets down right here to 1980s, drop down to 4. 2010 or so, it's like maybe 3. But the projected, from 2050 and 2100, it's going to continue dropping. Because you want to know why? A lot of people are pushing back having children, until like the later years. And by the time they finally ready, quote unquote, it's for the women, it's too late. You know what I'm saying? That's why in the scriptures where he said, why Apostle Paul said that that uh, that he would prefer that the woman would get married young, bear children, and guide the house. You know what I'm saying? Give no occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully. You understand what I'm saying? I'm paraphrasing, but the Apostle Paul said that because listen, he knows that even back then that what was the proper role for a woman. You know what I'm saying? To to get married while she's young, bear children, guide the house. You know what I'm saying? And this is not being misogynistic and all that other bullshit, that people like to come with. So don't even come with that. You know what I'm saying? Women are very important as far as keeping any nation running. You know what I'm saying? If more women was groomed from a young age to be mothers, to be wives, you know what I'm saying, and to rear, to marry the best quality of men, and to rear good, good upright children. Not only that nation will flourish, the nation's life cycle will continue to flourish as well. You understand what I'm saying? Not only would a nation flourish as far as financially or success wise, but it will also flourish as far as keeping the nation numbers up. You know what I'm saying? Keeping the population up. But in this wicked Western society, where you tell women that to go to college, oh, you don't gotta have kids right now, you got time, and you got women that's in their 30s and 40s, you know, calling themselves, being ready to settle down. By then it's too late, man. By then it's too late. And it's not just the black woman, the white woman, the Asian, the East Indian. Listen, it's many women that's being caught up in that pitfall and that trap. Some of them also get wrapped up into their career. That some of them even go as far as even dub giving birth altogether. Having children altogether. But again, you know, the more women that do that, the more a society birth rate is going to collapse. Which me, this might be my little prediction. If it happens, it happens. It don't. If it don't, it don't. It's going to get to a point where a lot of these countries are going to start giving incentives to get women to start being stay-at-home moms again. You know what I'm saying? To get married young, probably to put off going to college, or they might uh, do more provisions um, where men will probably make more money to the point where they could single-handedly hold down the fort, hold down the house, or they might, straight up dub women from working altogether, which, quite frankly, I could see that happening. But again, it's just my opinion. It may happen, it may not. So now let's continue on. As a result, the researchers expect the number of people on the planet to peak at 9.7 billion at 2064, before falling down to 8.8 billion by the end of the century. That's a pretty big thing. Most of the world is transitioning into natural population decline, say Professor Christopher Murray told the BBC. I think it's incredibly hard to think this through and recognize how big a thing this is. It's extraordinary. We read that last line. We'll have to reorganize societies. And why he's saying that? Because a lot of these societies, like Japan, South Korea, so on and so forth, is getting to the point where the population of the senior citizens is starting to outrank the populations of young children under 18. You know what I'm saying? Entire countries got schools closing down, or schools that have very little children, because a lot of their citizens are not having children. A lot of their citizens is putting having families to the side to pursue college, to pursue a career, and You know, by the time where they ready, when they decide that they're ready to have a family, is either too late, or some of them might just be so wrapped up into a quote unquote career, you know what I'm saying, to the point where they pretty much dub having families altogether, which either one of those options are bad. All right, let's continue. Why are fertility rates falling? It has nothing to do with sperm counts or the usual things that come to mind when discussing fertility. And see, that says it right there. It has nothing to do with sperm counts. A lot of brothers, a lot of men, regardless of nationality, is still able to bust seeds and get women pregnant. It's just the fact that many are opting out of having families, and forgot to mention this. Many of them are opting out of relationships altogether. In Japan, you got this thing that's called a herbivore men. Where men pretty much forego relationships, marriage, the whole nine, and just do them, be a bachelor for the rest of their life. You know what I'm saying? Pretty much like a monk life. Let's continue. Instead, it is being driven by more women in education and work, as well as greater access to contraception, leading to women choosing to have fewer children. So there's your problem right there. It's being driven by more women in education and work, meaning more women pursuing these worthless college degrees. Half of especially in the states, these worthless college degrees where they're going to spend the rest of their life paying off, and the whole rat race as far as the corporate world. You know what I'm saying? As well as greater access to contraception, aka abortions. You know what I'm saying? The Plan B, the Plan B pill, and other forms of birth control. In many ways, falling fertility rates are a success story. That I refuse to believe, because falling fertility rates equals your nation declining, which also equals you know your nation is being being closer to wiping itself out. You understand what I'm saying? So Esau may see falling fertility rates as a success story, but me, quite frankly, from where I see it, I see it as a horror story. It's a horror story. Regardless of what nation, nationality you are, you need your your nation's life cycle to continue. You know what I'm saying? Because if it doesn't, then you can't get mad when your country's government decide to import people from other countries to help keep their society up and running. Don't get mad when they bring in immigrants, refugees from other countries, and they start snagging up all the best jobs, or they start snagging up all the nice neighborhoods and stuff. You understand what I'm saying? So that right there is something that every man and woman should consider. Which countries will be most affected? Japan's population is projected to fall from a peak of 128 million in 2017 to less than 53 million by the end of the century. God damn, that's a lot, man. That's a huge drop. That's a huge drop, because again, a lot of the Japanese men, a lot of them are living the quote unquote herbivore life. They becoming herbivore men. Look it up. Men that decide to opt out of marriage, opt out of relationships, so on and so forth, and pretty much just live a life as a pretty much as a monk. The quote unquote MGTOW, if you will, the MGTOW of the East, if you will. Italy is expected to see an equally dramatic population crash from 61 million to 28 million over the same time frame. That's bad. They are two of 23 countries, which include Spain, Portugal, Thailand, and South Korea, expected to see their population more than halved. This is jaw dropping, Professor Christopher Murray told me. China, currently the most populous nation in the world, is expected to peak at 1.4 billion in 4 years' time before nearly halving to 732 million by 2100. India will take its place. The UK is predicted to peak at 75 million in 2063 and fall to 71 million by 2100. Now see, let me just bring something out real quick. The part where it says that China is currently the most populous nation in the world, which is expected to peak at 1.4 billion in 4 years' time, before nearly halving to 7.3 million in 2100. India will take its place. You wonder why? One of the reasons why India will take its place. A lot of Elamites still practice polygyny. You know what I'm saying? Not every East Indian practices Hinduism and Buddhism and stuff like that. A lot of them still practice Islam. And one thing that's big in Islam is what? Polygyny. Not every Muslim practice it, but some do. You know what I'm saying? So right here it says how populations of selected countries might change on 2017 to 2100. You see the big drop in China. The red is from 20. The blue is from 2017. The purple is the projected 2100. But look at that. Nigeria, for 2017 was projected this, from right here, 0.3 billion. We're projected to close to almost a billion people by 2100. Pretty much Nigeria and the U.S. are the only countries where seek to project where the projected population of 2100 is bigger than the population of 2017. You know what I'm saying? Why is that? Nigeria, is one of the African countries that still values, having families. You know what I'm saying? They still value having families. They still value, you know, you know, uh, creating a legacy for the following generations. You understand what I'm saying? And in Nigeria and other African countries, the practice of polygyny is still in play. It's still in play. You know what I'm saying? And that's why mainly the African nations, you know what I'm saying, and pretty much like the black nation, black and Hispanic nation in the West are pretty much the only populations that seem to continue growing, coming into this next, century. Let's read on. However, this will be a truly global issue, with 183 out of 195 countries having a fertility rate below the replacement level. Why is this a problem? You might think this is great for the environment. A smaller population will reduce carbon emission as well as deforestation for farmland. This would be true except for the inverted age structure, more old people than young people, and all the uniformly negative consequences of inverted age structure, said Professor Murray. The study projects the number of the under fives will fall from 681 million in 2017 to 401 million in 2100. The number of over 80s will soar from 141 million in 2017 to 886 million in 2100. That is a huge leap, man. So it's going to get to a point where it's going to be way more senior citizens than there are people, children under fives, and there's going to be way more senior citizens than the people that's of age, the adults, the young adults. That it's going to be a point where there's going to be more senior citizens than the young adults are going to be able to take care of, and that's going to be a problem because once people get up there in age, the 60s, the 70s, 80s, so on and so forth, that's when they really need care. You know what I'm saying? Constant care, round the clock care, or occasional, checkup. Make sure, said senior citizen is doing well. Make sure they don't need help or they haven't hurt themselves in anything. It's going to be a lot of, it's going to be hard for the senior citizens at that time. Professor Murray adds it will create enormous social change. It makes me worried because I have an 8-year-old daughter and I wonder what the world will be like. Who pays taxes in a massively aged world? Who pays for health care for the elderly? Who will look after the elderly? I was just talking about that. See what I'm saying? Who's going to look after the elderly? Again, it's going to get to a point where you have a massive amount of elderly, the senior citizens, and less young adults that's going to be able to take care of them. When I say, will people still be able to retire from work? We need a soft landing, argued Professor Murray. Are there any solutions? Countries, including the UK, have used migration to boost their population and compensate for their falling fertility rates. And see, that's one of the many reasons why a lot of in within the past 10 years, a lot of the Arab countries, a lot of the European countries have started to allow Arabs to immigrate to their country, Middle Easterns to immigrate their country. Why? It's mainly to boost their falling fertility rates because a lot of Caucasians in Europe, they're not having children like that. You know what I'm saying? They're not having children like that. You know, I don't know if it's because their women decide to pursue education and a career. Maybe there's a huge gender war stuff over there, or maybe their soldiers aren't marching, or their eggs aren't fertile. You know what I'm saying? Who knows? But that's the main reason why many European countries, you know, um, the UK, Sweden, Germany, Italy, France, Greece. That's why they started allowing refugees and citizens from the Arab countries to immigrate there over a massive scale. Because to be completely honest with you, they are the ones that mainly patching up, the society of Europe. You know what I'm saying? That the Arabs and the Africans that's immigrating over to Europe, they're the main ones that's really patching up or holding up the European societies as a whole. Because if they wasn't there, listen, the European society would be in very bad shape because a lot of them they going through it too. I just read it. Spain, Portugal, Italy, they going through it. UK, they going through it. Now let's continue on. Countries, including the UK, have used migration to boost their populations and compensate for falling fertility rates. However, this stopped being the answer once nearly every country's population is shrinking. We will go from the period where it's a choice to open borders or not to frank competition for migrants as there won't be enough, argues Professor Murray. So they're predicting it's going to get bad to a point where, even if it was to go to allow, immigrants to migrate over there, according to them, they claiming that most of the countries, their population is dying down too. So it's going to have a point of who do we choose from? Everybody's going through the same thing. Some countries have tried policies such as enhanced maternity and paternity leave, free childcare, financial incentives, and extra employment rights, but there's no clear answer. Which is true. A lot of the Asian and European countries, they offering extra money, extra bread. You know, they pretty much paying their citizens to have children. You know what I'm saying? I saw an article from Sister Lisa Cabrera's channel that Japan was going as far as to offering free homes, free housing. You know what I'm saying? For citizens, all they got to do is get married, have a kid, and even that wasn't working. A lot of these Asian countries, Singapore, you know what I'm saying, South Korea, so on and so forth, they offering the same thing, offering all kinds of bread, all kinds of uh, you know employment, extra employment rights, incentives, and this, that, and the third to get their citizens to have kids, and they're still not doing so. And also, let me go into this enhanced maternity leave and paternity leave. That's another thing, man. Whether U.S. or abroad, a lot of these jobs, listen, their maternity and paternity leaves to be bullshit, man. For a lot for the women, they'll give a woman like 6 weeks, and then they'll be like, all right, that's it, bitch, back to work. Come on, like who, like at that time, at 6 weeks, the child's barely a month and a half. Sh- that child needs to bond with his or her mother, and vice versa. That mother needs to bond with that child. That whole 6 weeks paternity leave is garbage. 6 weeks maternity leave is garbage, and same thing with the father. You might have instances where the mother might have postpartum, and the father need to be home to help take care of her, to hold her down. He needs that too. And I heard as far as for the paternity leave, it's even worse than the maternity leave. I think you get like less time, like a month or something like that. That's not enough. That's not enough, man. You know what I'm saying? And that's another factor to consider why a lot of these citizens in these different countries are not having kids. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of them are afraid of possibly losing their job, losing their place in their career. You know what I'm saying? In case shit goes left and they might have to stay out extra, they fear that their job might be like, oh well, we can't really do that, blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of these folks, they see the bullshit and like, you know what? Nah, free childcare alone. The industry of childcare is $1 billion industry in the U.S. and abroad. To put your child in daycare while you going for 8 to 10 hours, out of the day. You know what I'm saying? And to trust somebody to watch and take care of your children. You know what I'm saying? That industry alone is expensive, and not everybody has the financial, had the finance for that. You understand what I'm saying? Not everybody had the finance for that. You know what I'm saying? Like, and in some states and all countries, childcare is, listen, that shit is pretty much as the rent or a car note for some people. You know, childcare is expensive. But again, some countries are even offering all kinds of benefits, and even that is still not helping them. You know, and that's pretty much the Most High bringing these nations down. Sweden has dragged its fertility rate up from 1.7 to 1.9, but other countries that have put significant effort into tackling the baby bust have struggled. Singapore still has a fertility rate of 1.3. Whew, God damn, that's horrible. You know what I'm saying? See, this is the Most High bringing these Gentiles down because at the end of the day, their time is just about up, man. Their time is just about up. Most High having the Heavenly Father having set up where that a lot of these countries are starting to feel, the punishments as far as, you know, for drinking the wine of Babylon, which is, you know, the feminist movement. Having your woman in the workplace working and all that and other stuff. Working 8 to 10 hours when she's supposed to be home raising children. We're supposed to be bearing children and guard the house to keep the nation running. You know what I'm saying? All these nations, you know what I'm saying? Being extra greedy, um, making it where, you know, where you need both parents working now instead of just one. You know, where every family got to be a two income family home just to survive instead of just one. Where back in the day, or the husband had to, only the husband had to work and his paycheck would hold the whole family down and hold them down to the point where each family could have like 3, 4 kids, if not more. You know what I'm saying? That's these nations' judgment. Let's continue. Professor Murray says, I find people laugh it off. They can't imagine it could be true. They think women will just decide to have more kids. If you can't find a solution, then eventually the species disappear. But that's a few centuries away. How do countries fight falling birth rates? Shit, I have an idea. The research warns against undoing the progress on women's education, access, and access to contraception. Well, there's your problem right there. That's your problem right there. Now, the access to contraception, that's a gray area because some women, you know, might have, health complications where they can't have babies. They might have to get certain things fixed, a certain thing, and wait a certain time period before they're able to successfully conceive. You know what I'm saying? So that might be a gray area. But as far as women's education, as far as, come on, you got a lot of these women getting these masters and PhDs and, all these degrees and stuff, pursuing career in the all kinds of careers in the corporate world, and they putting having a family to the side. You know what I'm saying? So now you got this. And before anybody gets in their feelings and say I'm misogynist or this, that, and all the other ad hominems that I usually come up with, just understand this, man. Anything outside of order is destructive, man. Again, like I said, I quote the Apostle Paul where he said that he would rather that the young woman get married while they're young, bear children, and guard the house, giving no occasion to the adversary to speak reproachfully. That's the role of a woman. You know what I'm saying? Because it keeps her in line as far as having a family, giving her something productive to do besides making some damn fat cat CEO pockets even fatter, where she's raising children to help continue the population and installing morals and values inside said children so that they'll be able to handle and tackle the harsh world out there and to be able to do a good job doing so. That's the role of a woman. Not to climb the corporate ladder and being some CEO face, you know what I'm saying? All shucking and jiving and, slurping and burping him after hours. That's not what a woman's role is about. So let's get some understanding. The research warned against undoing the progress of women education and access to contraception. Again, like I said, that's the problem right there. Professor Stein Emil Volset said, responding to population decline is likely to become an overriding policy concerning concern in many nations, but must not compromise efforts to enhance women's reproductive health or progress on reproductive rights. But see, my whole thing is this: like, yo, if unless you re, uh, readjust society to the point where just the men will be able to go out and make an actual living to the point where they could handle all the bills. They could pay all the bills, hold down the fort, where the wife don't even have to work. Where the cost of living ain't so damn high to the point where she has to go out and get a job at school. Unless these nations readjust society to that point, that's how it's gonna be. This confusion is exactly how it's gonna be. And again, like I said, these other nations, they're eating the fruit of Babylon. They're reaping the benefits of eating the fruit of Babylon, which is watching their nation crumble. They want to drink Babylon's wine, drink the Babylon juice. Women in college, women doing this, women doing that. You know what I'm saying? Women in the court, CEO and the board of trustees and stuff like that, instead of being at home raising families, raising children. That's a problem. Let's continue. What about Africa? The population of the sub-Saharan Africa is expected to treble in size to more than 3 billion people by 2100. And the study says Nigeria will become the world's second biggest country with a population of 791 million. Whew. Professor Murray says we will have many more people of African descent in many more countries as we go through this. Global recognition of the challenges around racism are going to be all the more critical if there are large numbers of people of African descent in many countries. Which goes to show that's one of the many reasons why they constantly in Africa, you know, pumping the citizens, with the so-called quote unquote vaccines. That's why they constantly using Africa as a testing ground for these so-called vaccines, which in the long run jacks them up. Because, trust me, the elites knew about this plan for the longest time. The fear of a black planet. You know what I'm saying? Now, whether it's scattered Israelites still in Africa, or the Hamitic people, you know, the projection shows that Africa's population is about to explode. Why? Because they still practice the natural order of things. That women get married while they're young, while they're still fertile, their children guard the house. And on top of that, many African countries are still practicing polygyny, which, as far as I'm concerned, is one of the many tools, not many, one of the few tools that might be necessary if these countries plan on fixing their birth rate problem. But that's just me. Let's read on. Why the 2.1 fertility rate threshold? You might think the number should be 2.0. Two parents have two children, so the population stays the same size. But even with the best healthcare, not all children survive to adulthood. Also, babies are ever so slightly more likely to be male. That means the replacement figure is 2.1 in developed countries. Nation with higher childhood mortality also needs a higher fertility rate. What do the experts say? Professor Ibrahim Abu Bakr, University College London, UCL, said if these predictions are even half accurate, migration will become a necessity for all nations and not an option. To be successful, we need a fundamental rethink of global politics. The distribution of working age populations will be crucial to whether humanity prospers or withers. And that's just it. Again, like I said, man, a lot of these nations that drink the wine of Babylon, Babylon the Great, feminism, the gender war, women could do everything just like men. Anything you can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you. That whole bullshit. A lot of these nations are starting to reap the benefits of it. A lot of their women are putting off settling down, having families, you know, in order to chase degrees, and I'm pretty sure it's not just the US. Some of these college educated women around the world have degrees that's pretty much ultimately worthless to them. You know what I'm saying? Probably have all these degrees and they work in somewhere, you know, outside of their field. These women, creeping up the corporate ladder, or these high positions, this, that, and the third, which is good and stuff. But like if you have no family and stuff like that, when you die, who you gonna leave your wealth to? You understand what I'm saying? Stuff like that is something that needs to be thought about. You know what I'm saying? So again, a lot of these nations, they drunk the wine of Babylon and they reaping the fruit. So it's gonna get to a point where they might have to rethink, global politics. So again, like I said, my thoughts, they might either a set up a system where the men could make enough money and thrive to the point where they'll be able to hold down the fort, if they decide to get married and have kids, that they make enough where they aren't, where they could, and I'm talking about working regular hours, not doing the 50, 60 hours a week and you halfway killing yourself just to make ends meet. You know what I'm saying? To make a good salary where if a man decides to, he could find a wife, get married, have children, and have it where that he makes enough where she doesn't have to work and that he don't have to kill himself working 50, 60, 70 hours a week. You understand what I'm saying? Child care, parental, paternal leave and stuff like that will be, you know what I'm saying? So that's plan A, option A. Option B, you know what I'm saying? They might have to, start limiting or possibly dubbing, women's right to work, women college education and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? They might have to start, and some countries might do that, man. Like don't get it twisted. Some countries just might do that. You know what I'm saying? Listen, a lot of these countries are even going as far as to doing the, offering all kinds of incentives for their citizens to have babies, but it's not working, man. A lot of them are not. They're not taking the bait. They're just not taking the bait. You know what I'm saying? And that might be of the Most High. The Most High's will to bring these nations low because it's time for these nations to get judged. Well, that's just it. What do you guys think? You think I'm on the money? You think I'm way off, or you think I'm in between? Sign off in the comments. This is your brother Shamwal Kassad signing off, saying Shalom.